summer 2023. This would be the time where I decided that I would go for my big bike trip all the way from Abbotsford, BC, up to Watson Lake in the Yukon, and eventually make my way back to my home in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I left pretty much right after I graduated at 18 years old and would cover about 5,300 kilometers over 42 days. I would have mountains, prairies, remote places in northern BC, and so much more. It would be an experience that I would never forget. This is my trip. Alright, the night before, all packed up here. About to leave on my big trip tomorrow morning. The day was finally here, August 5th. After working for about a month in BC, I was finally all ready to go. Here's my bike. It's crazy. Well, about to leave. Sam, Nana, Grandpa, all in. Gonna bike with me to mission. Bike loaded down. Alright, about to leave. All big loaded down. Oh, that's it. After finally departing, my grandparents and my friend Sam biked with me all the way to the Mission Bridge. It was a very nice sunrise. We made it to the bridge and said goodbye, and I was off. Bye! Love you! And I'm alone. Mission, BC. First other town besides Abbotsford. I made my way through Mission and then got to Silverdale. I briefly saw my uncle in Silverdale, and he would be the last family member that I would see for thousands of kilometers. After that, I made my way through the lower mainland. In Maple Ridge, I accidentally hit a garbage bin, which caused my front turd to be loose, but I quickly fixed that. After a decent bit of biking, I made my way through Coquitlam, which was very cool, and then eventually, after quite a while, I got to the city of Vancouver. It was very busy, and I saw lots of homeless people as well. It was quite something being in downtown and the biggest city of the whole trip. While biking through Stanley Park, a guy named Keith pulled over in his vehicle and gave me some hard taco shells and some salsa. He was very nice and was the first person that I would talk to on the trip and have a very nice encounter with. After that, I crossed the Lionsgate Bridge and made my way onto the Sea to Sky Highway. Just before the Sea to Sky Highway, I was able to find a little creek to cool off in. After that, I did a pretty big climb out of Vancouver, like nothing I had ever done before. It was very, very busy. There was lots and lots of hills till Squamish, uphill, downhill, but I had a very nice view of the ocean. First black bear. 34 kilometers before Squamish. I eventually got to Squamish. There I stopped at Wendy's, stopped at the dollar store, and got a little aero bar. After that, I briefly left Squamish and then found a spot to camp for the very first night of this trip. It was an unreal feeling, and I had not a clue what I had got myself into. I was very hopeful for an easier day the second day. I went down the Sea to Sky Highway. I stopped at a pretty nice viewpoint just shortly in the morning there. Then after a little bit, I made it to Whistler. Whistler was a very cool town. I biked through it. Shortly after Whistler, I passed by a very beautiful lake. After that, I made my way to Pemberton, about 30 kilometers. It felt like it was nearly all downhill. Well, very beautiful. Just after I passed through Pemberton, it got very flat. I then turned right to continue on the Highway 99 toward Lillooet, BC. I finally felt like I could do this for days on end. However, just when I was starting to enjoy myself, I started a massive climb. I didn't expect it at all, and it had 15% grades. The mountain really made me question why I would choose to do a trip like this. But after many countless exhausting hours after walking my bike and biking on the easiest gear, I finally was reaching for the top and nearing the spot where I would camp for the night. Alright, well I believe this is Cayush Pass, I think it's called. Just climbed the mountain. Finally, now it's downhill. Looks crazy. If I find a nice spot on the way down, I'm gonna stop to camp at it. So, yeah. Shortly after passing the top of the mountain, I found a spot to camp just off the highway that night, ending one of the most exhausting days of the whole trip. There's a bear right over there. I was excited for the start of the third day because I knew it would nearly be all downhill for the first couple hours after climbing the massive mountain yesterday. The landscape was also slowly changing, so it would be a lot more deserty. Within a span of a couple hours as well, I met 3 other bike tourists. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Nice. Yeah, thank you.
Where are you coming from?
We begin in Arizona,
Arizona?
Phoenix, and we are from France.
From France.
Yes.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
That's tired. Tired, yeah. Big climb you just did.
Where are you from?
Just from here, Abbotsford.
Okay.
Day 3.
Okay.
How about you?
I'm from Spain.
Spain.
Yes, and my girlfriend, friends.
Wow.
Yes.
Where are you coming from biking?
Porto Velho.
So all up in Alaska there.
Yes. Attention, Lucy. Finish Argentina. Okay. Bon, good
Alright.
start. Today the lake.
Yeah, very good. All right.
Allez, thank you.
All right, good
Bye.
luck.
Bye.
All right, very good luck.
Thank you, bye.
See ya. After meeting a couple biking from Alaska all the way to Argentina, I had a very big downhill and it was just amazing. Alright, I'm approaching Lillooet. Right over there. After I left Lillooet, it got quite hot. However, there was some very beautiful views, so that kind of made up for it. I ended up stopping at a gas station getting some ice cream too. That night, I ended up staying at a campground. I met a very nice person named Jessica, and she let me stay on her campground, and I just set up my tent on there. It was very nice, and she gave me some food and stuff too. It was pretty cool. Day 4 would be pretty exciting. I would reach the end of the Highway 99, Sea to Sky Highway, and finally get to the Caribou Highway, Highway 97. However, there was some very nice downhills before I reached Highway 97. After a little bit though, I finally did, and it was an amazing feeling. Well, I am nearly at Highway 97. I did not expect to get here so soon in the day, but that's great. I will have biked the length of all of Highway 99, so that's pretty cool. And this highway will take me to Prince George. So yeah, it's crazy. After a little bit of rain and a little bit of not feeling well, I made it to Clinton. It's a very nice town, and then after that I just continued for quite a while, but it was very nice. After a big hill after Clinton, I was very surprised to see how much it just flattened out. I didn't think BC could get so flat. Summit Bagby. We're 4,000 feet. Well, there are two F Trudeau flags just in the middle of the little lake thing there. Sounds kind of funny. After a little bit, I got to 100 Mile House. I had never been there, and I ended up stopping at Subway as well. It also ended up starting to rain quite a bit after I left 100 Mile House. After a bit, I reached Loch Lachach. It was a pretty nice place, but after a little bit it started to rain, which was not so nice, really for the first time of the trip. Although I did find a couple places to take shelter, and I ended up asking a RV park if I could stay there at night, and the older lady there was very, very nice. And she let me stay in an undercover area, and she made sure I had food, water, and everything that I could possibly need. It was very, very nice of her. Day 5. So, yeah. Day 5, it started off with rain. Lots of rain. After a little bit though, I eventually started to make my way to 150 Mile House. Not too long after, I finally reached Williams Lake. I went to McDonald's there, got some food, and then I had a pretty decent climb out of Williams Lake. And then it was on my way to Quesnel. Raining again. The wind's picked up a little bit too. There's like a small storm over there, it looks like. So, yeah. After McLee's Lake, I started to notice more and more rain off in the distance. So I knew that I would have rain later. Again. Alright, well, the storm is right over there. It looks like I'm gonna get some of it. So, that's gonna be. After a bit, the rain finally stopped, and I was finally making my way to Quesnel. In Quesnel, I would stay with my parents' old friends, Dan and Debbie, for a night. They were very nice, and it was very nice to see them again after about 13 years. We ended up having pizza that night, and it was very nice being able to have a nice warm shower and a bed to sleep in that night. I ended up restocking on food, and then eventually around 11 o'clock was when I left Quesnel. Even though I left past 11 that day, I still wanted to make it to Hixson, BC. Nearing Hixson, the roads got quite a bit worse and there was lots of construction too, but eventually I was able to make it to Hixson. It ended up being a beautiful day for riding, and I made it just about 20 kilometers south of Prince George that day. In the end, I found a very nice place to camp just on the side of the highway. Well, I got the rain thing on for the tent because felt a couple raindrops and it's supposed to rain a tiny bit overnight, so yeah. Looks cool though. I was finally 1 week into my trip. I was excited for today because I would reach Prince George, which was my first milestone that I had in mind. I'd never been there before, so it was pretty cool to eventually get there when I did. Well, Prince George. First bigger milestone, so that's pretty cool. Nearing the middle of Prince George, I would reach Highway 16. I would turn left there to start heading west, down the Yellowhead Highway, also known as the Highway of Tears, until I would finally reach, after a number of days, Kitwonka. As I started to leave Prince George, it started to rain again as well. Well, found the BC license plate, so I'm gonna throw out the Washington one, just like that. Put this on my bike. It started to rain quite a bit after a little while, but it eventually stopped not too long after. After a little bit though, I started to get my way to Vanderhoof. That would also be the time where I would reach about 1,000 kilometers on my trip, which I had never done before. Not too far outside of Vanderhoof, I noticed more rain coming, so I decided to set up camp a little bit earlier that night so I could get my stuff out of the rain before it started again. Alright, it's about to start, or it already is raining decently hard. So I've set up a tent, the rain thing over it, and I'll be camping here for the night, this field. So yeah, a little bit past Vanderhoof. So yeah. Well, it is raining. So yeah, good thing I set this up before it all got wet. Day 8. I'm really starting to get into the trip now, over 1,000 kilometers in, and I'm finally off the Caribou Highway as well. I'm heading toward northern BC, but I'm not quite there yet. After not too long in the morning, I reached Fort Fraser. It was a nice little town, but shortly after that, I met a couple who was driving all the way from Argentina and was going up to Alaska. They gave me some water, and it was also pretty cool because they barely spoke any English, but we were still able to have a pretty good conversation. Alright, here's Fraser Lake. So that's cool. Decently flat, but the wind, and I have so much resistance that it's not the most enjoyable. Just witnessed a bird get hit. This day I was able to make it all the way to Burns Lake. In Burns Lake I found a free campground in town, and then I also went to the store and restocked on food later in the day. The morning leaving Burns Lake was very calm and nice. Today I would hope to make my way all the way to Smithers. Well, another summit. I didn't even realize I was going up one, but 840 meters, so that's something. Buckley. Dog back there ran right out into the highway, barking at me. Came right up to me, gave me a little nip, and ran away. So that was interesting. After leaving Toplet, it became quite flat, and it was pretty nice. After a little bit, I reached Houston, BC, and that around there was where I saw the first small fires of the trip too. Leaving Houston, I came in view of the mountains again. They were very beautiful. I also had a pretty decent climb, and eventually after a little bit I reached Telqua. Well, it's Hungry Hill Summit, 2,769 feet, 844 meters. Second one today. Second bear in like half a kilometer. Other one was down there. Well, made it to Telkwa. After Telkwa, it was a very beautiful and short ride all the way to Smithers. I stayed in Smithers for a little while, and my kickstand also snapped there, which was a little bit unfortunate. Well, my bike stand broke, so a little bit after I left Smithers, I found a beautiful spot to set up camp for the night. It was right beside some massive mountains, and the sunset was just beautiful. Day 10 would be pretty exciting. I would hopefully reach the Stewart-Cassiar Highway, Highway 37, that would lead all the way up to the Yukon in northern BC. As I got further north, I would pass through more and more small native towns as well. After a little bit, I reached New Hazelton. I'd restock on food there before the long, remote stretch going up Highway 37 that would last for about a week. It was a very nice area between New Hazelton and the junction that would lead to Highway 37. I even saw a bear along the way. Highway 37, Student Cassiar Highway. Gonna go up to the Yukon, most remote highway I'll have ever biked down is right up there. I finally turned down Highway 37. Shortly after, I reached Kitwanga, and there was a free campground there, and I decided to stay there the night. The first day on the Stewart-Cassiar Highway was an amazing feeling. It started off with rain, but it was pretty cool to be all alone. There was not many cars passing at all. I even met another biker coming all the way from Alaska. His name was Andrew. Well, looking forward to that.
Andrew,
Liam.
Liam, nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
All right, well.
I'll take a picture. Can I take a picture?
Oh yes, yes, for sure. There was even an abandoned house, so I decided to check it out on the side of the highway. Well, just found these sunglasses and might as well keep them. So that's kind of cool. There's a bear right there. I started to approach the Mazaidan Junction. If I would turn left, I would head towards Stewart, BC, and apparently there's a very cool glacier that people can see there. However, I would be turning right, so that was alright. Well, that does not look very nice. I have a spot to camp for tonight. It's kind of just on the side of the highway. Kind of see it. And yeah. Lots of bears in the area, so there's that. I heard a massive snap just outside my tent, so that was a little bit unsettling. Heard about there being big grizzlies over here. It was right over here. I saw the things move. I saw the branches moving. I don't know if you can see, but there's tons of mosquitoes just following me. So if I stop, I'm gonna be eaten alive, pretty much. Big hill though. I just climbed that Hannah. So yay. Well, it's just beautiful here. It's just so calm. Trees, just nature. Northern BC, it's crazy. Would have never thought that I would be here, let alone by bike. It's just crazy. Oh. There's a decent bit of construction on the highway. It's always nice being able to talk to the workers though. They're always very nice and talkative. Air number 13. The landscape has just got so beautiful, and after a little while I was approaching Bell 2. Well, it's raining again, so that's fun. The mountains got just so lush and untouched by humans, like nothing I've ever seen before in my life. Well, it says that this is a summit, but I've just been going downhill for the last while. I even met a crazy biker from Japan who was biking all around the world. He was from Japan, had already done Australia, and was going from Alaska to Argentina, Europe, Alaska, and all across Asia. Shortly after though, I found a rest stop where I would stay the night, and there was a very nice trucker who made me a grilled cheese sandwich, gave me a can of pop, and it was very nice. It's been awesome to see how nice people have been on this trip. It was a very nice night, besides for the fact that I accidentally spilled some boiling water on myself. In the morning, I talked with the trucker, whose name ended up being Chris, for quite a while, so I left on the road a little bit later than normal. It was also a little bit chilly this morning, but it was also very beautiful and the mountains were very nice. I even saw a rainbow.
It's cold today, that is for sure. Not sure how cold, but somewhere below 10, I know that. Probably like 6 or something.
After a little bit of biking, I had a pretty big downhill, but then after that it was a very big uphill, 10% grades on that one. Not as bad as I had done before, but still pretty bad.
Well, it is raining yet again, so that's fun. Really see the rain up there, but that's already passed, so I'm just at the very end of it, so yeah.
After a little bit, I reached Tatoga, BC. There was a lodge there, and I decided to get a sandwich, which cost $7, which I don't think I will do again on the whole trip. Not too far after Tatoga, I would reach Iskut. It was a small town, but I didn't quite know what to expect. It was pretty cool though, and I was able to restock on some food before the last stretch before the Yukon. Just outside of town, it was a pretty good climb, so I made it a little ways, but then I decided to set up camp part ways out.
Alright, well, I am partway up this big hill. Maybe it's a mountain, I don't know, but I've just found this nice spot here. I've just decided I am camping here, and that's that. So, gonna set up camp. Got past Iskut today. Tomorrow we'll get to Dease Lake, and then after Dease Lake it's a long stretch with nothing till I get to the Yukon. So, yeah. Well, it rained a lot last night, so everything's just wet, and it's chillier, so I have this jacket on for the first time. So yeah, it's like 5 degrees, so yeah. Well, this is the hill that one of the bikers kind of warned me about. He said it was pretty sketchy because it's partly gravel. So that's going to be fun.
I had a pretty big downhill. Even some of it turned into gravel, and it started to rain a little bit, but it was pretty cool. All a part of the experience. After that, though, I knew that I would have a pretty big uphill. Little did I know, though, that it would be the highest point on the whole Stewart-Cassiar Highway. Another thing that I noticed while getting up north is that all the water that I would see would be very, very clear, unlike anything that I have ever seen before.
I have reached the summit. Oh, 1,241 meters. Highest one yet, I think.
Nearing the end of the descent, close to Dease Lake, I almost lost control of the bike. I wasn't paying attention and went off into the gravel on the side of the road. Somehow though, I maintained control and was able to continue on, but with a possible flat tire.
Well, my front tire, I don't know if it's losing air, getting a little bit flat. So I'm gonna pump it up a little bit and hope that there's not a hole. I also almost kind of went off the road right coming down there. I looked away for a second and then all of a sudden I realized I was on the gravel. I thought I was going to crash. I was going kind of into the ditch in the gravel. And then, yeah, so I'll see about this. Apparently this is a summit. Arctic Pacific Divide Summit, 820 meters. Interesting.
Dease Lake was a nice small town. I didn't do too much in there, but I stayed there for a little bit and then kept on going.
Well, rain again.
After the rain stopped, I found a nice spot to set up camp at a rest stop right beside Dease Lake. My goal for day 15 would be to get to Boyle Lake. I'd heard from it from a previous person a couple days ago, and apparently it's supposed to be really beautiful. I also started to reach the Cassiar Mountains. They reminded me a lot of the Rocky Mountains and were just beautiful. They were pretty cool to see. Pretty much all the way right at the top of northern BC. After a little bit, I would reach Jade City. It's not too much of a city. It has a couple buildings and probably like a population of 5. However, there was a pretty nice shop there and I was able to get a couple little rocks, and the person there gave me a sticker for free as well, which was very nice. After not too long, I would reach Good Hope Lake. There's not too much there. There's just a couple buildings, but not really any stores or anything. Also beautiful mountains around it. After that, I would make my way to Boyle Lake, where I would turn off the highway and take down a little road to the campground. I decided to pay $20 for a campground that night, and I also met a very nice older couple who made a smoky for me, and we talked. The couple's name was Leo and Mary. They were very nice. Later that night, I would repair my the front bike tire that I had, because yesterday it started to deflate and I started to notice it more and more throughout the day. So I was able to patch the tire. There was a tiny hole the very first run of the trip after close to 2,000 kilometers, so it was pretty good. August 20th. This would be the day that I would hope to get to the Yukon border. It seemed just crazy. I would have never thought that I would be so close to such a massive milestone.
Hello. There are some signs up ahead. I think it's the Yukon, which is just insane. Insane. There, yeah, that's it. I can see the Yukon border. Oh man. Here's all the BC signs. Oh man. Well, I'm in quite the spot. The Yukon border, BC border, and yeah, just crazy. And I'm in the Yukon.
It was the craziest feeling thinking that I had just biked the Yukon. After that though, I would finally get to the Alaska Highway shortly and make my way to Watson Lake, where I would stay for 2 nights and 1 full day, which would be amazing. Staying in a hotel, being able to sleep in a bed, Wi-Fi, electricity, and just everything. I also finally had cell service for the first time in 6 days. Once I was settled in the hotel that I was going to stay at for the 2 nights, I went restocked on food, and then I was just ready to relax for the next full day. I was very excited, and it was a moment I had been waiting for since the start of the trip. On my day off, I was able to explore Watson Lake a little bit. I went to the signpost forest, which had lots of license plates and signs from all over the world. I was also able to relax and get ready for the next leg of the trip, which would take me all the way to Edmonton.
Alright, so I just went kind of walked around, got a couple little souvenir things, got a Yukon license plate, so that's kind of cool. Alright, so I'm about to leave, well not about to leave, maybe in about an hour, packed up there in the hotel belt to leave for the next stretch of the trip to Edmonton. I'll have to go through the Rockies, and that's going to be a big challenge, reach the highest point on the trip, but about 5 days I'll get to Fort Nelson, so yeah, that's the hope at least. So yeah. There I am, bike all packed up here. Yeah, I'll pay for the hotel, maybe leave in about an hour, just relax for the last little bit. And yeah, that's it for now. Alright, well, I am back on the road, leaving Watson Lake. And on the next leg of the journey. There's the Yukon sign. So, not sure where the BC sign is, but it'll be somewhere. Now I can see the welcome to BC way over there.
For nearly the rest of BC, I would be taking the Alaska Highway pretty much all the way till I would reach Alberta, up until Dawson Creek.
Well, car stopped and gave me an orange. So that was fantastic. Well, I just found what looked like a fresh banana and Gatorade. Right on the side of the road. Unopened. So I mean, someone must have seen me, stopped, put it here, and then, yeah. Bear number 15. Here's another Yukon sign, because I'm kind of going in and out of the Yukon border right now. So yeah, another Yukon sign.
I saw the first bison of the trip even. I've never seen wild bison before, so it was pretty cool.
Bear number 4 today.
I ended up doing a shorter day because I found a very nice spot to camp at a viewpoint. The morning of August 23rd was the foggiest morning of the whole trip. After a little bit of biking too, I met a old biker, 81 years old, from Japan. He was biking all the way from Alaska to Los Angeles, which just blew my mind.
Well, met 2 more cyclists. It seemed like a couple, Denny and Atasha, biking from Anchorage. And they're hoping to eventually get to Argentina.
After a little bit, I reached Coal River, a small settlement in northern BC. It had a small restaurant, so I decided to get a little breakfast, and it tasted amazing. The northern Rocky Mountains were finally starting to come in sight. I was half dreading them, but also looking forward to them, knowing that they would be some of the most beautiful places of my whole trip. Shortly after a bridge, just after Lion River, I had my first climb that would be entering the Rocky Mountains. I had people stopping, warning me of bison up ahead. They never seemed like they would come, but finally, I saw this. Not too far after seeing the bison, I found a spot to camp for the night. I also discovered that my water filter had broke, so I wouldn't have a water filter for possibly the rest of the trip. Also, that night a bison walked right past my tent, so that was kind of cool.
Well, bison right by my camp. Well, it's the morning now, and I'm all packed up. Just a beautiful landscape here, but it is very windy. It was windy throughout the night, but I woke up in the middle of the night and saw some little bit of northern lights, just a tiny bit. But yeah, it was pretty cool. So many stars too, but yeah. Get on my way soon, and yeah. It'll be a hard day today, I imagine, so yeah. It was a moose. Just saw it run away somewhere down there.
After a little bit, I reached Muncho Lake. It was a very beautiful lake. However, shortly after the lake, I ran into a little issue.
Well, front brakes are completely done. So, not quite sure what I should do here. This snapped, therefore no brakes.
My front brake cable snapped. I decided that I would try to ride with it for the rest of the day and just use my back brakes and hope that it would last the rest of the day. I'd hopefully repair it later that night. On top of that, I had some pretty decent hills today, but finally after a little bit I would reach Toad River. At Toad River, I talked to a couple people about my trip. It was pretty cool. I also got some ice cream and an aero bar. Shortly after Toad River, I crossed a bridge and found a pretty nice spot to camp just beside a river.
Alright, I think I found my spot that I'm going to camp tonight. Just in here. Alright, so I am set up here. Got the tent and I just worked on the brakes. I've never done brakes before, and I was able to figure it out and get it working perfectly. And I tightened the back ones because they were getting quite loose, so it's just perfect. Alright, so I took off the mirror here just because it was very loose and I couldn't tighten it, like the screw was stripped. So that's off now.
I was finally 3 weeks into the trip. I left pretty early in the morning and found a little abandoned house to explore as well. It was more like an abandoned gas station or something, I'm not completely sure. However, today would be the day that I would climb Summit Lake, the highest point on the whole trip. It was a pretty big climb, but had some pretty cool views as well.
There's a moose in the water over there, which is pretty cool. There it is. I just saw some mountain goats and they ran away.
It was a very long, slow climb to the top of Summit Lake. However, I would say it was worth it because the mountains were just beautiful.
Kilometer 600.
I finally reached the top of the Summit Lake Pass. I was very happy and had finally reached the highest point of the trip. The descent on the mountain was very nice as well. At the bottom of the mountain, I ended up talking to someone named James. We talked for quite a while, and he told lots of stories. It was very nice hearing him talk. It was quite one of the most interesting people that I met on the trip. After a little bit, I had a pretty big downhill. After that though, little did I know that I would have a whole nother mountain, Steamboat Mountain, that I would have to climb up. Eventually, I got to the top near sunset and found a spot to camp near the bottom.
Alright, now it's the descent. I'm gonna stop partway down to set up camp though. Bear just appeared out of nowhere right there. I didn't even see it until I was right beside it, probably within like 10 feet.
I would try to reach Fort Nelson today. It'd be a pretty big milestone as of it being about the halfway point of the trip. Before that though, I would reach Highway 77, which if I would turn left down there, it would take me all the way to the Northwest Territories. However, I would not be taking that way.
Well, something a little bit exciting. Looking out that way, there's no giant mountains. It's just like hills, rolling hills. It's fantastic. There's mountains over there, way back there too, but I've been through those. Haven't seen a flat stretch like this the whole trip.
I was pretty happy about finally getting to Fort Nelson after about 5 days of being in more remote areas. I would restock on food and then finally leave Fort Nelson as well.
Alright, well, restocked on food and I'm leaving Fort Nelson now.
I was amazed at how flat it was finally becoming after all I had done so far. It was great. It was quite hot that day too, so I found a lake and decided to go for a little swim in it. And then I kept on biking, and at the end of the day, I ended up finding a very, very nice spot to camp. One of the nicest of the whole trip.
Kilometer 400. Well, vehicle just pulled over, gave me a bottle of water, so that was pretty nice. So, yeah. Well, big hill right there, so that's gonna be fun.
That night, I probably had one of the best camping spots that I've had the whole trip. It had a lake, dock, picnic table, fire pit, and I even saw the northern lights that night. Day 23 would end up being a bit of a harder day. However, in the morning I met a guy named Andres. He was traveling the world and started in Colombia. He was going by motorcycle and was already all the way up in British Columbia.
Well, I met some people. The crazy Alaskans from Texas. That's what they said I should call them. So that was pretty cool. And I got water. So I was getting low on water. So I got water. So that was amazing. Got some cookies. Got some vegetables. So that was just amazing there.
After a little bit, I would pass through Buckinghorse River. It had also gotten quite hot in the day, over 30 degrees. After that though, I would pass through Sikani Chief. There was a big descent into that, and I even saw a small wildfire off in the distance. However, there was a big climb after that. On that climb, I noticed that something was very off about my back tire. It was making the climb a lot harder, and the brakes were rubbing somewhere on the tire. So I would check it when I would set up camp at a rest stop that night.
Well, just did the massive hill. It was brutal. There's a spoke right here that's just loose, and then also one of the bearings here is just gone. So yeah, I guess I'm not sure if I'm supposed to take this off or not, but yeah. You can see it more when it's stood up, but you can see it wobbles. Alright, well, here I am, off with my tire issue. So, hopefully I can make it 2 days, and then I should have a spot to fix it. So yeah, it's even a little bit smoky out, you can kind of see. So yeah,
I would have to make it to Fort St. John, about a 2-day ride away, to be able to figure out exactly what was wrong with the back tire. I had a very beautiful sunrise on August 28th. It was also the first day where I'd have a little bit of smoke, and it would get smokier throughout the day. After a little bit, I would reach through Pink Mountain, and it would also be quite hot still today. There'd also be a decent bit of hills. Between Pink Mountain and Wanawan, there started to be quite a few more vehicles on the road. It was the first signs of me finally coming out of the more remote places that I would be on my whole trip. It was a very nice feeling. Finally getting back into civilization.
well, it's definitely the smokiest day out today. It's lots of smoke. There's like no shadow either, just barely. So yeah, quite something.
That evening, I found a very nice rest spot to set up camp. It had lots of picnic tables. It was very nice, even had running water. August 29th was another smoky day. However, after not too long, I would reach Fort St. John. There, I would take a little break and get my bike looked at. It turned out that the back rear axle part had bent, causing more issues in the back tire. I'd probably have to get the whole back rim replaced either in Grand Prairie or Edmonton.
Well, I've made it to Fort St. John now, which is amazing. Out of all the remoteness.
had a pretty decent descent down into Taylor, BC. However, just crossing the river, there was a big ascent. I was able to make it up though without stopping once. On my way to Dawson Creek, the smoke started to finally lift. It also got quite a bit flatter and started to be more rolling hills and more fields. It was very cool to see. Dawson Creek would also mark mile 0 of the Alaska Highway, which I had been traveling for about 1,000 kilometers. I made my way through Dawson Creek. After that, I would continue on through BC down Highway 2, which would take me to Alberta, and in Alberta it would turn into Highway 43. This day would be my last day in BC after weeks upon weeks of BC, mountains, all that.
Alright, this is my map. I've marked down every night so far. So I'll go on up and all the way over there now. Last night in BC. Tomorrow I will be in Alberta. So, 3rd province / territory of the trip. So that's pretty cool. And then yeah, eventually get to Edmonton, so that's the next big place that I'll be, so that'll be nice. I just shined my flashlight over there and there are 2 sets of eyes.
I was pretty excited in the morning. I knew I would shortly reach the Alberta border, the 3rd province / territory of the trip. It would also be kind of the start of the prairies, and it would even get flatter afterwards.
Well, I can see the BC sign, so I'm getting quite close. Alright, well, I am leaving British Columbia for good. I'm entering Alberta. The sign's right over there. So that's very exciting. So, yeah.
I would pass through a couple small towns before reaching Grand Prairie, the first being Hythe, then Albright, Beaver Lodge, and then Wembley. After that though, it would be a long straight stretch to Grand Prairie, where I would stop for a little while. Between Beaver Lodge and Grand Prairie, I made crazy time, even passing a tractor on the highway for a time. Grand Prairie was very busy. There was lots of cars, and not all the roads that I took were really meant for bikers, so I had to bike on the main road. There was even one vehicle that honked at me a lot, but I got through it eventually and was continuing on my way. The next big stop, Edmonton. I would still end up passing through the small town of Besenston, and a little bit after that, Dippold. After that though, I would find a small rest stop and decide to set up camp there for the night. It also got quite smoky later in the day, possibly the most smoky of the whole trip.
Alright, well, it is very smoky out. It's like just crazy. Probably barely see a kilometer away. So, yeah.
When I passed the Alberta border yesterday, I had also passed through the time zone. I really noticed this morning when I would wake up at the same time, but it would be a lot darker and it was a lot harder for me to wake up. However, I got going eventually, and pretty shortly I would pass through Valley View. After a little bit, I would reach a small town called Fox Creek. I ended up refilling water, getting some Subway there, and then continuing on my way. I didn't plan to go too far after Fox Creek today. However, just how it worked, I just kept on biking and biking. And somehow, I ended up reaching Whitecourt, which is crazy. It was a long ride, and I ended up reading till it was past sunset and doing over 200 kilometers today. I ended up paying for a small inn today, and it was very nice though.
Well, big black bear over there. Biggest one I've seen. Well, got a hotel room. It's yeah, quite something.
The hotel wasn't anything crazy special, but after not having slept in a bed since the Yukon, it was very nice, had a nice shower, and it even had a breakfast in the morning, which is fantastic. I ended up riding over 200 kilometers today for the first time of the trip too.
Alright, about to leave the hotel here. I'll get some little bit of food from a store here, and then I'll be off for the day. It's just about 9 o'clock, so yeah.
Today would be a pretty big day. I knew that I would want to try to get to Edmonton, even though it would be over a 170 kilometer ride. I was convinced that I would try to. I'd been riding on my back tire for about 6 days as well, so I really need to get prepared. Had progressively gotten worse and worse, but still thankfully rideable.
It's the protein bar the guy gave me earlier.
I would finally slowly make my way back toward Highway 16, which the last time that I had been on there was back in northern BC.
Some not very pleasant noises, so hopefully I make it to Edmonton.
I would bike through Stony Plain and shortly after that Spruce Grove. That would be just before I would reach Edmonton later in the day, and I would get a hotel for the next couple days.
made it to Edmonton. It was just crazy. September 1st, 2023, Friday. Later in the day for sure. But yeah, that's alright. Edmonton.
Edmonton would be one of the biggest milestones of my trip. I'd done over 3,500 kilometers and I would stay here for a couple days in a hotel. My mom would also drive from Winnipeg just to see me, and we would do a couple fun little things. Go to the West Edmonton Mall. That was probably one of the best.
Alright, the hotel should just be around here. Well, here's the hotel room. It's pretty amazing. And then just the view. Not too much, but pretty cool. Alrighty, well, I am biking to get the bike fixed at the bike shop, so it's all not loaded right now. But definitely seems off. So, yeah. Alright, so I've got a whole bunch of new things here. Whole new tire here. New cassette. New, don't quite know what this is called, but that's new too. New chain on. So it should last the whole rest of the trip. So it's quite something. After a long day of driving for my mom, she would also reach Edmonton. The next day, we would go to the West Edmonton Mall and walk nearly through the whole thing and do lots of things throughout the day. The whole amusement park in a mall. That Monday, me and my mom relaxed in the hotel for quite a bit. However, we still went to go see a movie, and later in the day we went to go have a nice dinner because I would be leaving for my last stretch of the trip on September 5th. Okay. Bye. At the start of the day, I would bike past the West Edmonton Mall and slowly make my way to Highway 2. I would take that to get out of Edmonton, however it was very busy. And I would eventually take Highway 2 all the way down to Calgary. I eventually made it out of Edmonton, and shortly after I would pass by Leduc. Well, it's raining for the first time in a little bit here, so yeah. After quite a bit of biking for that day, I would pass through Red Deer, and shortly after Red Deer, I would find a spot to camp in a field and set up camp for the night. Spot here, just kind of just off the side of the highway. So yeah, Now it would be a nice tailwind, but it's getting late and I've already made it past Red Deer. So yeah. Well, there's the first little bit of frost of the trip on the backpack there. So, yeah.
In the morning, I would pass through a couple small towns, and I would also pass through a little bit of construction. There would be a few rolling hills, but my goal for today would be to make it to Calgary. There, I would be able to stay with my friend Brooke from high school and her family, which I was looking forward to lots.
First glimpse of Calgary. It's way off in the distance, but you can see it. Some tall buildings, so that's pretty cool. I'm excited.
As I got closer to Calgary, it got quite a bit busier. It also got quite rainy, but eventually I would make it to Calgary. In Calgary, I would have to ride through the whole city just to get to where I would meet my friend Brooke with her family. I would end up staying there the night, which was fantastic. Biking through Calgary was quite chaotic and it was very busy, but eventually I was able to make it.
Well, I'm back on the road.
After being able to sleep in a bed for the last time of the trip and having a nice breakfast and saying goodbye, I was off for the day, making my way around Calgary and to the #1 highway, which I would take the rest of the way back all the way to Winnipeg. I was able to find a nice spot to camp today off the #1 highway just on some random gravel road. The sunset was very nice.
Alright, well, I am packed up for the day. Sun is rising and I'm a little bit sick. I was last night, yesterday a little bit. It's kind of for the first time on the trip, so yeah, just like a runny nose, throat sore, just kind of small things, but just all stuffy and whatever. So yeah, not too bad, but yeah, so heading that way. I'll have a headwind, it seems like, for who knows how long. So yeah, that's it for now.
Well,
there's another biker. He's on the other side, so I doubt I'll talk to him, but don't know if you can see him, but yeah, it's pretty cool. First one in a long time. Alright, well, I'm about to get to Brooks in the next little bit here, but looks like we got some rain coming. It's just been getting closer and closer, so yeah, that'll be fun. Alright, well, here starts the rain. It's gonna last a while, I think, so it's gonna be fun.
After Brooks, it got even flatter, just long, straight, flat, no trees, no fields, just open land.
There's some of those antelope kind of things. I forgot what they're called.
I found a nice spot to camp that night just off the #1 highway again. There was even some small cactuses by my camp, and it was right beside some train tracks, but it was a pretty nice spot.
Alright, so this is the setup for tonight. It's pretty nice actually. So we got the bike there, tent, cooking up some ramen, and right by the tracks, but it's off the highway, so that's nice. And maybe I'll get to Saskatchewan tomorrow, but I'll see. Medicine hat for sure, and then go from there. So yeah.
That morning started off pretty foggy, but it shortly lifted. After not too long, I would reach Red Cliff and then Medicine Hat. In Medicine Hat, I would take a short little stop at the big teepee that they have there, and then I would continue on.
Well, Medicine Hat. It's the world's tallest teepee, so here it is. It's pretty big. Oh. Well, leaving the teepee, so that's pretty cool.
Shortly after leaving Medicine Hat, I saw a toy run. I didn't know what it was at first, but there was a whole bunch of motorcycles led by a Santa Claus. Apparently they were raising money for kids' Christmas presents, so that was pretty cool. I didn't know what it was at the time, but after the fact I did find out, and it was pretty cool. Around 1,000 motorcycles. It just never ended, it seemed like.
got cactus here. Well, now I have a license plate for every province and territory I've been in.
I've been having a pretty decent headwind for the last couple days as well. It didn't show any signs of stopping, but eventually I would reach the Saskatchewan border.
Alright, well, I can see the Alberta border sign. Well, I can see the Saskatchewan sign. So close. It's crazy.
After entering Saskatchewan, I'd have to bike through the Cypress Hills. They're smaller hills compared to what I have done, but still noticeable. And after a little while, I would find a spot to camp and set up camp near sunset that night.
Alright, well, this is where I'm going to stay tonight. So, just on the side of the gravel road here. So, yeah. Alright, well, my front tire must have a small hole or something again. It could be the one that I had way back in northern BC, perhaps come undone or something, but the tire is ever so slowly deflating. So I'll see if I can make it the rest of the day today and then maybe get that done tonight. So I'll see though. Well, swift current.
In Swift Current, I restocked on food in Walmart. After that, while still in Walmart, I noticed that my tire was quite a bit flatter, so I had to pump up my tire in Walmart. However, that lasted me till I was able to set up camp later that evening. It was a very nice spot that I was able to find as well.
Alright, well, not sure if you can see it, but there's a small little thing that I pulled out of the... Oh, now it's gone. Small little thing I just pulled out of the tire, so... Good thing I got that. I got the tube out here. I'll look for a hole, patch it, and then, yeah. So, pretty nice spot, though. So, yeah, I stopped a little bit earlier, too, just so I had a bit of extra time to fix all that stuff and whatever, so... Yeah.
The 11th, I would end up having a lot of headwind. However, in the morning, I would pass through a small town of Herbert, where my friend Jesse's grandparents live. I thought that I would stop by, maybe say hi, but they did not answer their door. However, after texting Jesse messaged them, and they ended up driving out past Herbert and giving me a whole big lunch and stuff, and it was pretty great. Getting closer to the chaplain, there would be a whole bunch of salt on the ground, kind of looking like snow, but I thought it was pretty cool, and I've also been having lots of headwind. After a long day of biking, I would finally reach Cairnport. I'd find a spot shortly after that to set up camp for the night after fighting somewhere around 40 to 50 km/h winds. Pretty much right in the morning, I was able to make it to Moose Jaw. It was pretty cool, and I was able to stop at Subway. However, after that, I would continue my way and maybe make it to Regina today, which was my hope. I would fight, again, a whole nother day of strong headwinds, which was not the most enjoyable.
Well, 24 till Regina, but with this wind, that could take probably like, I don't know, 3 hours if it's like this the whole time. So, yeah, it's pretty bad wind. So, yeah. Alright, well, quite exciting. First sign for Winnipeg. Alright, first signs for Winnipeg. So, very exciting. So, happy about that. But now I'm about to go direct headwind for quite a while. So, that's just going to be quite hard. Well, this is Regina. I went around, so I won't see too much of it though. That's pretty cool.
After a long day of headwind for nearly the whole day, I was happy to finally set up camp when I did. After a few hours, I would make it to Indian Head. I ended up stopping at Subway there and then continuing. However, around that time would be the time where the wind would finally start to switch after about 5 days of headwind. So it would be just fantastic, and I would fly for the second half of the day.
Well, it's whitewood, so that's pretty cool. Pretty good distance today. The wind has not been as bad at all. So, just started to rain, but I think there's a road that I might be able to turn off here so that I could camp tonight. And right by, I am just approaching the big wind turbines here, so I'll go through all of those tomorrow morning. So yeah, and if I'm correct, I have made some pretty good time today. So the wind has finally been a lot less. So yeah, that's just brilliant. So yeah. All right, well, set up the tent here. Gonna hook up some food and whatever and get settled for the night. So last night in Saskatchewan and then tomorrow Manitoba, which is crazy. So yeah, plus I'll see grandparents tomorrow. I can see the sun too.
Pretty much right away, I would pass through all the wind turbines in eastern Saskatchewan. They're always very cool to see, and they're just massive. After not too long, I would pass through Moosomin. It would be pretty much the last town in Saskatchewan before I would reach the Manitoba border. However, right before the Manitoba border, all of a sudden, I noticed one of my old teachers driving by me. He stopped, waved, and we talked a little bit, so that was pretty cool.
Well, there's the Saskatchewan border, and I can see the Manitoba sign. So close. Well, made it to Manitoba. Well, last province now, Manitoba, home province. So it's just awesome. So noticed right before I entered Manitoba, somewhere I lost my Canada flag. So that's too bad. It lasted a good while, but now it's gone.
Once I'd reached Verdun, Manitoba, then I would finally have reached other places that I had biked before. It'd only be a couple days before I'd finally reach home after this crazy trip.
Here I am, Verdun. It's just crazy. So, yeah. So this intersection right here that I've biked to before, which is just insane. Here it is. And I've biked here before. Leaving Verdun. So now, from now on, it's just, I've biked this whole way before until I get back home. So that's pretty cool. Till Brandon. All Alright, well, here is this big valley, beautiful valley. So yeah, it's probably, well, it's the biggest hill I've ridden in Manitoba, so yeah, not that big compared to what I've done though. Pretty cool. Alright, well, nearly made it up the hill here, so compared to what I've done, that was nothing. So that's pretty cool.
After a decent bit of biking, I would finally get to Brandon. Brandon's a pretty nice town. I stopped at Subway, and then I would continue on as things would just start to get more and more familiar.
Alright, well, leaving Brandon, so crazy time today, and I've biked through Brandon twice, so it's even more familiar territory now, which is just awesome.
Somewhere in Spruce Woods, a vehicle ended up stopping, and a guy named John ended up coming out and talking to me. He was very nice. He gave me a whole bunch of food, and he had also done a crazy bike trip in his 20s, which was just amazing. Only around a half hour after that, my grandparents ended up driving past me and stopping. Gave me a couple snacks, but it was very nice to see them. I haven't seen them since the day that I left the trip, so that was just fantastic.
I've camped down there before, so that's kind of cool, but might as well go a little bit further today. So yeah.
I finally found a spot to set up camp for the night. The very last night of the trip, which was an unreal feeling. A part of the trip is always the end, and it was kind of sad, but also just amazing. I had done so much at this point.
It is quite possibly my last night of the trip. That's if I make crazy time tomorrow and make it like nearly 200 kilometers or something back home. But yeah, if it is the last night, it is the last night. This is the spot that I have here. Beautiful sunset. Can't see the sun, but you can see the clouds. And yeah, I figured that I would try sleeping under the stars tonight. One final night, if it is. I don't know yet. But yeah, it's been a crazy trip. It's just, yeah. Well, here's my maps. So, Abbotsford there, I've all kind of marked out the route here and whatever. Abbotsford, I went all the way up, Watson Lake, down the Alaska Highway, Dawson Creek, down the 43, down to Edmonton. Edmonton took me 2 days to get to Calgary. Calgary, went down Alberta, started to get some bad headwinds right around there. Medicine Hat, reached Saskatchewan. Pretty bad headwinds all this way up until yesterday actually, and halfway kind of through the day before that. But yeah, now here I am just by Carberry, so unreal. That's all I gotta say. This is the last ramen noodles. Alright, here it is, last thing. Here I got the sleeping bag here just on the tarp. Yeah. Alright, well, I am up now. First night sleeping just with no tent, just under the stars. So yeah, I did get rained on. So that wasn't ideal, but yeah.
And I was off on the last morning of the trip. It was a very beautiful sunrise as well. After a while, it just started to rain. It rained a lot, the most it had on the whole trip, which is crazy after such a beautiful morning. By the time that I reached Portage, it was raining pretty hard, and by the time that I was out of Portage, I was soaked.
Oh, my grandparents are there. I see their vehicle. Everything's just wet, shoes, socks.
Just outside of Portage, there was a woman outside her house, and she offered to let me stay in there for as long as I wanted. I accepted because I was just soaked, and it was just fantastic. I had a couple hot dogs, we talked for a while. It was pretty cool. Her name was Maria. After staying at Maria's house for around an hour, probably a little bit more even, the rain did slow down, so I continued biking. It was a pretty rough gravel area, but I made it through there, and made it through eventually to Medley, and then eventually to Warren. After Stonewall, I decided to take a slightly longer but less gravelly route to get back to my house. It was finally the last stretch of the whole trip.
Well, made it to the municipality of St. Andrews. Well, I've biked nearly all down this highway that I'm about to cross here, so that's kind of cool. Well, this is it for highway. River Road. Oh, the Whitecourt Dam. I'm about to complete the trip in under 2 kilometers, I think, which is just insane. Got all this stuff loaded down. Last time like this in this trip. Yeah. Oh, just the last tiny bit of the trip. Oh, and we got a new road too. There it is.
Well, my family didn't quite know that I was getting back today, so I surprised them a day early, which was pretty fun. But I was done the trip, 5,200 kilometers, 42 days, all alone, which is just crazy.
Yeah,
Now that I'm back, I'll slowly start getting back into normal life after graduation. I know that looking back on years to come, I'm just going to think that it's crazy what I did. All the challenges that I had, all the people that I met, all the landscapes that I saw, all the weather that I had to deal with. It was really an amazing trip. Ever since I was a kid, I had wanted to, or at least thought about, biking all the way from BC to Manitoba. It's been something that I've kind of just in the back of my mind, but now I I had finally done it. Alright, well, currently in the process of unpacking everything. Couldn't fall asleep tonight, so figured I'd do this. So yeah.